Hello everyone. Hi. How's it going? Long time. I mean, not really. Perfect. Hello. 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 As I was saying, long time, and then I realized I'm not really. I was just like here a second ago. I mean, more like an hour ago, but yeah. Let me just quickly shut a few things, and I think my voice will be much clearer then. Perfect. I'm back. Yep, we are back. Hello, hello. Hey, 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 everyone. And yeah, I think fan adds a bit of a white noise, and just shutting that off solves some issues, definitely. Perfect. So, as you can see on my screen right now, I am sharing Replit. Anyone who is joining me right now for the first time, let me tell you what we have done till now. We learned the basics of Express. Okay, how do you build an Express? We created Z dash index. Nice play of words right there. Uh, where we learned what is Express, added course, added some middlewares. We sent requests on base URL, new routes, my new route 2, and that's where we got. Then we went on to create our jobs.json file. Okay. And finally, we came back to our index.js where we added a bunch of stuff. We added express and course. We also added fs, which was to read the file. And then we added a base a url kind of thingy where we went like, okay, this will send job board api, which you can see on the right hand side here. And then we also added a slash job, which is basically sending job data. Rest.status 200 dot send job data. What is job data? Our whole JSON. Okay, and this is what we created till now. Now I think there was like one or two questions in the chat. I saw it when I started this broadcast, and I think they were solved already, which is great. Perfect. So, with all of that in mind and moving on, let's go along and build a few new routes. Okay. Now, uh, okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this get route and I'm going to push it to the bottom. Why? Because this would be kind of a fallback. Okay, this would be kind of a fallback. I will also tell you why, because later on when we are doing some refactor in the code, we want to, yeah, we'll cut paste a lot of things and this is going to stay there. So that's why I'm putting it way down. Okay, let's create another route. So this route, we are going to do something called as using params. Okay, now that's the next part, which is how do I pass some data in the params, in the URL, in the, yeah, in the URL params, which is basically in the URL. I want the ability to add a slash and pass some ID, and it should return me the data of only that particular thing. What I mean is, like right now, if you see, when we go to slash job, it sends me everything. Okay, it sends me everything, the whole of the JSON. Like make it big. enough, uh, yep, it sends me like the whole of JSON when I go to slash job, which is actually what we created. Okay, we told it to send all the jobs. But now, what if I only want the job number one? Okay, so I only want this particular JSON data to be returned, or I only like, sorry, this is ID 0. I only want this 0 to be returned, or I only want the 1 to be returned, or I only want the 2 to be returned. I want to return one single uh, job. How can I do that? We can use something called as params. Params are short for parameters. Okay. What are parameters? Parameters are, you can think of it as the stuff that you pass in the URL. Okay. Once we start building it, you will get a clear understanding of it. So what's the step one? We do app dot uh, get. Okay, it would again be a get request. We will go to the base URL, but we'll also add a colon ID. We will tell it that after the base URL, okay, also in the base URL, let's add like slash job to the base URL. So after the base URL, I'm expecting an ID. Okay, so what does this mean is, we'll go to slash job and we'll also add slash some ID number, which can be 0, 1, 2, 3, like basically the data that we have. And it should return, uh, yep, wrong screenshot, sorry. Uh, Perfect. So we will do app.get. This is what I wrote till now. App.get, we add a slash job slash colon ID. Now this colon ID, this is the a parameter. With what parameter is this? It is basically telling that I'm going to pass, after a job, I'm going to pass something which will be an ID. It can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And once you find the JSON object, which is this one curly bracket thingy, if you find the JSON object where the ID matches to the ID that I am sending, then send me that object in the response. Now, I'm using big words, but it's like fairly simple. So we say a request, okay, and we say a response, and then we want to send it, which is good. Now we can create something called as variable, which we all know. So const id equals to request dot params. See, as you can see, it is showing me params. And in the request dot params, see, this is what it is expecting, id colon string. So I can do dot id. Okay. And once I have done this, I am going to then do a res. Okay, let's create another const uh, mm, response. Okay, let's call it response. Now what is this response going to be? Now remember our job data. What was our job data? Our job data was basically an array. Okay, why? Because as you can see in jobs.json, this was an array. And now, as you know, that for an array, if an array starts from index 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we also have our IDs which start from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and we'll have more later on, maybe. So 0, 1, 2. So from this array, if I do an array and then a square bracket, 0, it will only return me this thing, because that is how in JavaScript you call an object in an array, one particular object in an array. So that is what I'm going to do. My array was going to be job data, so job data, and then square bracket, I'm going to call the ID. Now ID, if you can see, if I hover over it, as you can see, it's saying that property ID colon string. But array, like indexing in array, it expects a number there. So I need to convert this string thing to a number. I can do simply parse int. Okay. As you can see here in the description, converts a string to an integer. Okay. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to add brackets. And now this will return a string which will be converted to a number, and it will be stored in this variable. Once this variable is there, then we'll go to the job data array, and from that array we want an object at a particular position. Which position? Whatever the number that the user has said. If user had said 0, then it will return the array at the object at the uh, 0th position. If the user says 1, it will return the object at the first position. User says 2, it will return object at the second position, like 0 1 2, 2th position here in this array. If user says 3, there is nothing. Okay, so it will return not found or something like that. Let's see. So now I do a const response, and okay, next part, as you can see, we do a res.status.send. So we will do res.status. It's 200, which basically means successful. And then we can do a dot and send, and in the send we will send the response, like, which is this variable. So understand the difference. This res is coming from this app.get. Okay, the express request response, and this response, this is what the variable that we created. Okay, let me also make it a bit bigger so that it's easy to see. So this is what we send. Perfect. Now my server had stopped, so I'm going to start it again. And yep, that's good. Now you can click on this option, this open in new tab, go to the new tab. Once you go to the new tab, okay, what will you see? You should be seeing, uh, like, oops, my bad. And also I should basically share everything so that you can see where I'm typing stuff. uh, Let me quickly share everything for the time being. Perfect. So, and nice. Now that we have it, you should be able to basically see all the jobs. But now in the URL, what do I have? I have the URL, and then I have a slash job, and then I add a slash, and I add a number like 1. It returns me only the thing with ID 1. If I do a 2, it returns me only with ID 2. If I do a 4, it returns a blank page because it's confused. We are actually not handling that error of what should it do when it does not match anything that you tell it to. Well, in that case, let's go back to our code and say if response, which is this one, if response, then do this. Okay, then do the sending of response, else we can do a res dot status of 400 dot send data not found, or no matching id, no matching id found. Okay, something like this. Let's go back, and perfect. As you can see now, I go for 4, it's not found. I go for 0, and it's there. Okay, so yep, as I think Mickey said that can we do some error handling, we did the bare minimum error handling right now. So this is one way. Okay, what have we seen? We have seen how to check the params the in the URL. Now let's go for the next one, which is query params. Yeah, query params. Let me just quickly open my notes. Okay, the next one is query params. Now, what does that mean? What does that query params mean? Let's write that down. So there is params, which is request.params, which I don't know if in on hover it's going to give me anything. I wish it would. When you run a REPL for a longer time, it, yeah, just stops responding, it seems. Let me reload it. Maybe then it would. Hmm. Okay, not really. No problem. So we had params. You saw what params actually did, frankly. So you now have an idea of how params work. What if I want to pass more than just the ID? I want to pass the ID as well as, let's say, the location. Okay, I want to pass the ID as well as the location, like remote or London, UK, whatever. So if I want to do two things at a time, I can do something, I can use something called as query params. So how does that look? So we do app dot get. Again, it's a get request. Okay, we are basically telling it to go and get the data, which is fine for now. Base URL, let's keep it as slash job and slash. Now you can give it anything that you want here. Okay, uh just for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to say job query params. Okay, so what have I done? I have said that app.get and I'm keeping this job slash job constant. It's at three places right now, here, slash job here, and slash job here. And here we were only going to get the ID from the params. Right now I'm also adding this job query params, which is still fine. Now next part, request response, rec dash res. And yep, right now, like till now, everything is working the way it should work. Now let's do the next part, which is handling the query params. So we'll create, as I told you, I want to pass two things in the URL. I want to pass ID. So const ID equals to, in the previous one, we said rec.params.id. This time it would be rec.query. Okay, query string dot id. Now we still need to like we know there should be a number, so we'll do a parse int and we'll add it here. The second one is location. So const location equals to, we know it's going to come as a string. So we'll do request dot query dot location. Okay. So we have created two variables, and this const ID, there's const location. And let's go to the next part. What hmm, actually, instead of first showing you what is being sent, let me show you what is being printed. So we'll do a console.log of uh, id comma location. We can also send that. So we can do a res.send. Uh, okay, let's not do it directly. Let's create a variable because that makes it easy. Const response equals to uh, id colon dollar id. So I'm using backticks for string concatenation, comma location colon dollar location. Okay, and then we have this, and now let's do a res dot send response. Okay, so what have we done till now? We created two variables here, const id, const location. We created another variable, const response. We are just basically trying to print that and send that. Let's go back to our job board. Like, oh, let me also copy this job query params. Let's go here. Now after slash job, we'll add job query params and we'll add a question mark, and we'll say id equals to 1. Okay, question mark id equals 1, and let's hit enter. Oops, what happened here? What happened? Hmm, let's think about it. So remember, I told you that it's going to first try to find uh, what you, if the base URL matches. Now this colon id, this is not a part of the URL. Okay, it's basically a placeholder which says that, hey, if someone adds slash something, consider it as an id. Okay, but that's not what we want. We want that someone should add slash job query params and add some query strings after that, and then that should return me some data. So easiest fix, take this down. Okay, use it as a fallback. Now let's go to our this one, and now let's try. And perfect, id1 location undefined because we did not send a location. We can send a location by adding and location equals remote, and that's it. You can add like any id you want, and you can add, let's say, Mumbai colon comma India. That goes. Also, if you see, comma and space, it was convert, like the comma remains but the space was converted to percentage 20. Remember the URL encoded? Okay, that this is what it means. Okay, this is what it means. But even though in the URL it was percentage 20, here you cannot see percentage 20 because Express is smart to understand it. Perfect. I hope this much has been clear till now. What have we done? So we have sent something and we were basically printing it out. Okay. As you can see here, we were just basically printing it out. Now let's come back. Now in the response, so we got the ID, we got the location. Now in the response, what we want to do, we actually want it to find. Wait, but what's the benefit of this if you can load a job which doesn't exist? uh, no, we have not written code for it yet. We have not written the code for it yet. We were just printing out what is this query strings that we were talking about, this request.query.id and request.query.location. What is it actually? uh, Perfect. Now let me just share screen. And now that we are back, let me add it to this stream, and you should be able to see. Perfect. Yeah, moving on. Now for the response, we want to find the response from our whole of job data where the ID matches to whatever ID the user is providing and the location matches. Now this is fairly simple. This is now JavaScript. So we take the job data and we add a find method to it, and we say, like, take a variable, let's call it my job. And my job, it's going to check for my job dot id equals to the id that user has provided, and my job dot location should be equal to, triple equal to, the location that user has provided, which is this one. And if this is happening, if this is being returned, so let me actually enter it and add it to a few new lines. So we added my job, we added job data dot find, and that has my job dot id triple equals to id, and my job dot location triple equals to location. If these, like, this is going to return only if the both of these conditions are true in the job data. So now in the next part, we can again do something similar to what we had previously done. We can do like if response. So let's remove these last two lines and we'll paste that. If response, rest status send response. And here we can say no data found. Okay. Let's, now you can just click on open a new tab. You can click, come to our, yeah, the web view. And perfect. In the query params, what have we done? We added ID equals 1 and then location equals to remote. And that's how we got this data back. Okay, simple. ID equals 1 and location equals to remote. And we added that in the query params, in the query string, in the query string. Probably I should share the whole thing for easy understanding. Perfect. So now, as you can see, we have ID1, and here we have added ID1 and location remote. Now, as someone said, what if we add ID4 and location remote? No data found because it's not there. Okay. What about ID2 and location remote? Well, no data found because ID2, what is the data for ID2? ID2 has London, comma UK. So if I go here and I change this to London, comma UK, we have it. Okay, so it searched in the array and it found uh, whatever we told it to find. And that's how we got back the object where the ID matches to what you're telling it and the location matches to what you're telling it. Now, what are the possible use case for it? Well, in this way, you can tell it like, okay, ID should match number two, company should match something else. And okay, we'll go back to the code. So please make sure that this is at the top. So I've added this from line number 13. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, so that is very important. And after that, this is what you have. We have taken the ID where we are parsing it from request.query.id. Okay, location from request.query.location. Then we have a response, and we are doing job data.find, and we are creating a variable, a temporary variable, you can say, my job, where we are saying what is my job. My job is basically this, each object, and we are then saying in my job.id, if it is equal to id, which is this one, this user one, and like double and my job dot location is equal to the user provided location. If that is like, if both of these, this is true, then it will add a response. Then this response object will be popular, this response variable will have some value. If response, which is basically we are checking if there is a response, then why do we use semicolon? Oh, we can, I mean, there's just a miss. Yeah, because I was just lazy. So remember I told you about Prettier? So I can do a copy from here, go to Prettier, remove their code, paste it here, and now we have more succinct code. Look, now there would be like, this is perfectly formatted, like the most perfect formatting you can get. Okay, so now we have job query params, and we are able to just add thing. You can take more data. You can add like company name, like you can take a company name also and then show the response. Like ID should match, location should match, and company name should match, or just the company name. You can like have whatever you decide, but the idea remains the same, like for this. Okay, now what's the next part? uh okay, so till now we have been working only with get request. Let's now work with a post request. So what is a post request? Now in a get request, where are we adding what we want? We are adding it in the query string. We are adding it here at the top, and yeah, that's where we are adding the data that we want. We are kind of filtering it out on in the URL itself, which is fine. But if you have like 10 different things or 15 different, it just looks bad in the URL. Secondly, you should not send sensitive data like this. Okay, a sensitive data should be primarily hidden from anyone who's snooping over. So what you can do is you can send a post request. So instead of a get request, you have to send a post request. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy this whole thing. Okay, this whole being like from like this particular get request. I am going to copy that and I'm going to paste it just below. Okay, and what changes like between get and post request, what changes? So now here instead of get it will be called as post. That's the first change, of course. Secondly, it will not have query strings. So you know what is query string? Query string is things that you add directly in the URL. Here it will have a body. Okay, so instead of query it will be body.id and body.location. And frankly, everything else should remain as it is. We can also modify this code to be more good looking in a way. What we can do is we know we are going to pass uh, actually let it be for now. Let me not confuse you a lot. So what have we changed? We basically copied this thing, we pasted it right below, and instead of get that changed to post, and instead of query it changed to body. Everything else is as it is. Now we are going to use a website called as hopscotch.io. Okay, hopscotch.io. What is hopscotch.io? Now, hopscotch.io, this allows us to basically uh, do the work of a web browser, like a get request. It allows you to send curl like yeah URL requests. Okay, it allows you to send request, receive response, and in this particular instance we are going to send few requests. Now I by mistake I just shut it. What we are going to do is we are going to copy this URL. Okay, once you open it, copy this URL, come to hopscotch, and here just paste it and click on send. It should return the same thing as it did previously. Okay, and by previously I mean as it looked like on the Chrome tab. It should look something similar. If we do slash job and do a get request, like where is the request? This is a get request. There are so many types of requests: get, post, put, patch, and we are going to use post in a bit. Now if I add slash job at the end, okay, if I add slash job at the end, okay, this is the maximum I think I can. Oh, there's this collapse sidebar. Okay, perfect. If I add slash job at the end, now you can see it is returning me all the jobs. Okay, now there's a question: what is a post request used for? And I think there is a good enough answer, like sending data or creating data. Yeah. So you send a post request, as I said, sensitive data. Okay, you can think of it as sending sensitive data, and you don't want to manipulate the URL. Okay, you don't want to add too many query strings. That's when you can uh, send a post request with something called as a body. You can see the body here. So here we can add the data. The URL will remain as it is, but we can still send some form data over the network. Okay, but majorly, okay, so for, yeah, but majorly uh, form data, and you just don't want the URL or query strings to be like too much, too lengthy, 10 or 15 things. You don't do that. So that's when you can send a post request. Now let's come back to the code. For the post, this is what I have added. And it's fairly simple, fairly easy. And what I did was I just copied the whole of the get request for this job slash job query params, and I added that to the post one. Instead of get, I called it post, and instead of query here, I changed that to body. Okay, those are the only. So hopscotch is similar to postman. Yep, similar to postman, works on the web, and I did not have to create an account, definitely, so just easy. So now we take this job query params. Let's do slash job query params, and instead of a get request, we want to send a post request. This is very important to change. Instead of a get request, select post request, and in the body we want to send a JSON. Okay, how does a JSON look like? It looks like curly brackets, id id colon 1, and we want to send location, and location colon remote. There's this prettify option, you can click on it. Prettifies, ours was already good looking. And now if I send, I get the response back. Okay, so this is what a post request looks like. Nothing in the URL, no question mark, no ID equals to and location equals to and blah blah blah. You send that as a part of the body. Okay, most of the times form data, whenever you add a form on, let's say, a React website, it will send a post request. In the post request, it will add whatever key and the value, key and the value. That's what we are kind of emulating here. So now if I do 2 colon remote, it should say 400, bad request, no data found. Okay, uh, if I do a 0 colon remote, yep, I'm getting the 0. Company name MLH front, company name MLH, job title front end dev, location remote. Perfect. So that's how you send a post request. I hope that's clear to everyone. And now you know how to make a post request. Like, what's the code that you need to write for sending a post request? And why am I sending error status 400? I should send like 404. If nothing is found, it's 404. Okay, let's go back here and let's do, look, ID 5, 404, status 404. Okay, not found. And this is the message. Perfect. So now you have an idea of how to send a post request. Okay, now I think this is best time to refactor the code a bit. Okay, what do I mean by refactor the code a bit? Can we, like, you know, make it more succinct? So I hope I have everyone's attention right now, because this is again going to be a fairly tricky, because there's just a lot of writing. So I'm going to remove this line number 28. Okay, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete this half of 27. And here I'm basically going to add ID and location in one line. And we are going to say this is coming from request.body. Okay, so that's the first change that I have done. And I'm confused. Should I do it everywhere? I don't think so. I think this is good enough. Uh, I mean, you could do the same here. Okay, perfect. Now, my job.id, as I had told you, my job.id means this particular ID. And this just ID, it means the ID that is coming from this request.body. I need to convert this to a number. So parse int and this. Good enough. Works. And yeah, now we have the post request. Any questions, anyone? Perfect. Seems like everything is going well. Now, going to the next part. What's the next part? The next part is. Mm, mm, okay, let's think. Now, if you see here, if I remove this my job ID thing, okay, and I only want location, this is a temporary removal. So I am removing the ID match, and we are saying if the location matches, if the location name matches, return me the data. Let's go to our this code and we will like hopscotch. Let's remove the ID part. Let's only send the location. So if I do a send, it returns me the data, which is perfect, which is fine. What's the problem? Let's go to jobs.json. We had sent the location remote. We had requested for the data where the location is remote. And as you can see, there are two objects where the location is remote. But the find method only returns the first instance of the matched option. Okay. It only returns what's the first matching uh, option in like the find method. So now instead of find, we need a method which is like kind of a find all. Okay. Now sadly, JavaScript does not have an inbuilt find all method. So what we are going to do is uh, we are going to add an option for that. Okay, so again, this is pretty easy. uh, like it's so easy. Instead of find, we will say filter. Okay, this is the change that I have made. Instead of find, I'll add filter. Let's go to this one, hopscotch, and now let's send this. And as you can see, now we have two things that are being returned. I made it sound so big and confusing, but this is what it is. Okay, that's all that you have to do. If you want to return multiple instances, instead of a find, add filter. Okay, that's it. And now, everywhere where the location is remote, it is going to send me the data. Now, if I go for, let's say, London, comma UK, there's only one. So only one is being returned. Okay. So I hope that was understood, everyone. Any questions about it? To read more about the filter method, I would say go to MDN docs. Okay, MDN docs, that is the best place to read more about like JavaScript functionalities. Okay, coming back. Now, what's the next thing? The next thing is basically, uh, yeah, let's move on to the next part. That is, how do we add data? Okay, that is important. How do we add data to our jobs.json? So let me add some space in between. Let's get started. So to add data, the data will be in the body, in the payload, as it is called. So we are going to make a post request once again. Now, what is the URL endpoint where we want to make the post request? We can make it on /job/add new job. Uh, okay, let's make it add new. Okay, let's make it add new, like not too big. So /job/add new. This is where we are going to make a request to add a new object. So if it's a request, we do request comma response and arrow function, and then uh, hmm, then once again we are going to read from the request body. So we are going to like now this is going to take everything. We don't want to add data with just the ID and location. We want to add basically everything. So ID, then there should be company, then there should be job title, right? Then there should be posted on, and finally there is, I think, location, which we have been playing around. So all of this will be read from request.body. Okay, we'll basically take this out from the request.body. Now, what are we going to do? Now, once we have this data, let's create another variable. Let's call it const new data. And that is basically equal to uh, all of this. I mean, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but that's fine. Uh, I'll tell you the reason later, definitely. So we have const, like first we are taking the request body and we are pulling out these the values of these keys, and then we are passing that to new data. And the next step, we want to do a data job data. That was the name of the array. So we want to do job data dot push this new data. Okay, now once we have pushed to this array, now there is a new object that is coming in the array, but we still need to write to this file. Right now what we have done is we have added whatever user sent to an array of job data, but we also need to add it to this jobs.json file. So if it's file, we need to work with fs. Okay, so in that we have a method which is called as fs dot write file. So simple. Write file. Now what does it take? It takes in the name of the file, which is in the same folder dot slash jobs dot json. Okay, then it takes the data. So we are going to basically stringify that data. Okay, so we are stringifying the data, which whatever we have received, and we will stringify the whole of job data. Okay, so json.stringify job data, and we'll there is also something called as err, which is error that exists, and we are going to check for that error. So we are going to check, like, if there is an error, then we can do a console dot error, uh, or let's send a response, rest dot status of 500, and let's add error writing file. Okay, if there is an error, then we send this, like. And now what's the next part? uh, and after this we'll return, basically. Let's do a return, empty return, saying that okay, it's an error, stop the process. Okay, don't do anything else. Now outside of this if loop, now we are going to basically say, if there is no error, res dot status of 200 dot send data added successfully. Perfect. And this should be it. So what have we done till now? We have taken the things from the request body. Oh, good question. Let's see what it does. Let's see what it does. uh okay, so if error, then we are sending error writing file. If there's no error, we are saying okay, data added successfully. And let me add that space back. Let's go back to hopscotch, and let's add this add new. So this would be slash job slash add new. And here, instead of just sending in the location remote, we are basically going to send in everything. So let's add ID 3 and XYZ and data scientist. And today's date, which is 7th April. Let's say Mumbai. Okay. And let's try sending it. Data added successfully. Woohoo! Let's go back to our code. Let's go to this one. And as you can see, the data has been added successfully. Perfect. And the previous data, all the past data, that's here. Okay, that exists. And the new data has been added. Now, coming back to the question, if we write job data, won't FS write the existing ones again? Hmm. What do you what do you think? Will it write the existing ones again, or is it appending to it? We can basically check uh, the documentation for it. Okay, that's the best way to find what's going to happen. So what are we using? So we are using write file. So the easiest way to write to files in Node.js is using fs.write file. And you first give it the name, then you tell it the content, and then you tell the error. And there is synchronously, and yeah, a lot of things. And flags. If you define the flag, then you can basically tell it, I think, where to open. This flag opens the file for writing, and it also positions the stream at the end of the file. So if you add the flag of A, I think, then yeah. So if you add this flag, then it is going to write at the end of the file. If you add like this flag of A plus, opens the file for reading and writing, and also positions the stream at the end of the file. You can find more information for flags in the FS documentation. Okay. uh, by default or logically, I would say, uh, yes, it is going to write to it like the whole thing. Okay. uh, yep, I think it would be writing the whole thing, and that is why we are basically saying json.stringify the job data, which is like the whole thing, whole possible thing. Now there's question. I ran it in hopscotch and it ran successfully, but it didn't add to jobs.json. It did not add. So in the right file, dot slash jobs.json, there's json.stringify, and there's like, if you even remove the error part, that's still fine. And this, and if it added successfully, then you should be able to see it. Also, format the JSON. So this looks ugly. Let's come here, paste it here, and format beautify. Copy it from here, come back, paste it. Okay, that's all I did. So Samrid, I am not sure. Mostly it should add the data. And if it said that data added successfully, I mean, it should be there. So I'll keep this open for the time being, like for, let's say, yeah, actually, you know what? Let's take a 10-minute break quickly. I will keep this open and you can have a look at it. Make sure that your code looks like exactly like this, and it should work. And let's take a 10-minute break. Once we are back, I will tell you an error in this, and yeah, I will show you an error which exists in this code, and I will also show you how to delete, and that should be the end of our stream. So let me just stop sharing quickly. Okay, the code is here, this is here, and perfect. 10-minute break. Let's be back in 10 minutes. I will add a ticker at the bottom. The code is open. Any questions, please add it in the chat. Once I'm back, I'll have a look at it. But just please ensure that you have code which is exactly like this. Nice. Okay. I talked a lot and then I realized I'm muted. Once again. Hello, I'm back. We still have like 2 minutes left, but I'm back early. Any questions in the chat? Let me know. Uh, Getting an error. All destructured elements are unused on line 39. I think that's more of a warning rather than an error. And I'm not getting it, which is curious. Formatting failed. Let's go to prettier. Remove this, copy this, come back here, move this, paste this. Let me also just make it a tad, tad bit smaller. Perfect. Okay. So, if you remember from the previous GHW streams, I normally have few code improvements lying around here and there, and I encourage you all that you send me a better version of this code. Okay, and how do you send that to me? You push it to GitHub. Okay, you push it on GitHub. Who's GitHub? I'm going to basically copy paste all of this on to GitHub. I have a folder, a repo, and in that I'm going to add this code. And I'll request you that if you have suggestions on how to improve this code, example, uh, destructured elements are unused, that basically kind of means that you are not using everything that you are creating, or you have maybe duplicate variables lying around here and there. Maybe there are some performance issues like rewriting the whole file. Can we improve that and only add to the last line? Okay, there are some of these things which would be in the code, and I want you to find them and send me a pull request. So all the code is open source, and I think this would be the perfect opportunity to contribute to open source. Where will I put my GitHub? I will put it as part of the messages that I had sent in earlier on Discord announcing the stream. I'll reply to them. I'll send you the link to my GitHub, like to this particular repo. And if you have any suggestions, any solutions, any way to make this uh, more, once again, succinct and better and without any performance issues, please, please, please do send a PR. Okay. Now, this would not only help you, but also anyone who's going to maybe someday Google or I don't know, Chat GPT about, okay, how do I create, how do I send a post request with all this data and write to a JSON file? Okay. And this is the answer that is going to be sent to the person. So improve this code so that the other person, whoever is going to end up using this code, they have a better looking one. Now, coming back, I told you there's an error in this. Now, what's the error? Watch. No, Prettify is not the error, definitely. Okay, wrong one. Perfect. Now, what's the error? So, if you remember from Hopscotch, uh, there is this Prettify button. If you can click on it, it will just Prettify. And we have this add new where we are going to add a new one, which is fine, which is good. Now, let's click on this again. And it says data added successfully. Okay. ID3 already existed. right? So if I come back to my jobs.json file, as you can see, there is ID 3 here, and it has been repeated twice. So there is no functionality where we are checking that if there is a duplicate ID, don't write to the file, and write only if and only if there is no duplicate ID. So let's add that functionality. Okay, fairly simple. Now, how do we check, or where do we check if it's duplicate or not? Now, right here after this, so after line number 37 for me, where we are basically destructuring all the elements from body, from request body, let's add const is duplicate id equals to job data dot. Now just remember that, for you remember the find method, what was the find method? It finds the first element. Okay, like the first element that you tell it to, in the array. If you're telling it find me a location remote, it finds the first object where the location is remote, right? So now the thing is that we can either use a find method and check if there is an id which exists, and return if there are no ids, like there are no duplicate ids. And or like we can do a vice versa thingy here. We can do a find, and if it returns like, okay, I found id 5, like id 3, let's say it already exists, then we are going to send an error saying, oops, this id already exists. So we can use find method. There's also a method which is called as sum. Okay. Now, the sum method, it basically tests if whatever condition that you tell it, if there is anything that passes that condition. Okay, whatever condition that you give it, it checks if there is an element which passes that condition. So we are going to tell it that, hey, uh, take this my job and check if job, like my job dot id equals to id. Okay, check if this is true or false. If this is true, okay, so this is going to check if this condition is true or false. uh okay, it's just going to check that. And we will say if is duplicate id, like if there is a duplicate id, then at that point, do a rest.status of, let's say, 400, and then send oops, id already exists. Okay, this is what we can do. And after this, we'll directly return. We'll not allow the code to move forward. So this is what we have added. We added a line which says that is duplicated. And in the is duplicated, we checked like job data dot sum, and it basically checks whatever you tell it to check. You tell it that, okay, check if my job dot id equals to the user given id. If it is equal, then it would say, like if it finds something which is equal, it will say okay, true. If it finds something that is false, then it would say false. If is duplicate, basically check if this is true, then do this. And we have not added, like if this is false, then we are going to go the here. Okay, The code is going to go here and it is going to do a bunch of stuff. So let's go to jobs.json and let's remove this duplicated thing. Okay. Let's also format it. So for formatting, Java JSON formatter. Okay. JSON formatter. Please make sure that you format it using like some JSON formatter so that it's easy for you to see. So we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. Let's go to hopscotch.io now. And you remember last time what we did? We sent a request of add new, and at that time the ID 3 was repeated. Let's try and send it again. Oops, ID already exists. Nice, we solved the bug. But what if I want to send ID 4? Okay, this should be successful, right? And yes, it is. ID 4 successful. Let's go back to our jobs.json on Replit. So there is ID 3 and here is ID 4. Perfect. Now, what if I want like ID should be different and at the same time the job title should be different? If I want to, let's say, do two conditional checks, well, pretty simple now. You do is uh, job title is okay. Let's follow the same. If duplicate job title, and we will do job data dot sum, and we'll give it a temporary variable of my job, and we will check it. I will tell it to check my job dot how is job title written. It's written as camel case. So my job dot job title equals to, not equals to, triple equals to job title. And here in the is duplicate ID, we'll add a or, and we'll say if this is true or this is true, oops, ID or job title already exists. Okay. Uh, Now what is the possible implication of this? Can someone think and tell me? Like what is the problem that is going to be faced for this code? Would someone like to give a try? What is the possible problem that's going to be faced for this code? Yep, true. So you won't be able to add more of the same job title. Let's say the ID is different, but I want to add a backend uh, dev. Okay, like backend dev, or let's, yeah, like this. It is going to give an error because it will say that, oops, backend dev cannot exist because of this code. So what is a better idea? So you want to see that there is no duplicate ID and there is no duplicate job title, or more like you want to see that a same company does not post duplicate job title. Or do you want to see that, or do you don't want to see that? I mean, it's like how you want the website to be. Like, are you deleting the data on a regular basis? Like once someone gets hired, are you deleting that, or what are you doing? So it totally depends on that implementation. But at this moment, I'm just trying to show you that if you want, you can do that, like add conditions where you're checking that, okay, no duplicate job titles. Yep, exactly, it's redundant, definitely redundant. Okay. But if you, it's not about ID or job title. For anything that you want to do, you can just do an or and then check. Okay. For the time being, I'm going to remove this. Just wanted to show you all what is the way to do it. Perfect. Now we know how to add a new job, which is awesome. Let me just remove the spacing, like too much spaces, and let's do the final one. Yep, the finale is here, which is how to delete a job. Okay, I want to delete some data. How do I do that? And then we'll do some refactor. Okay, perfect. Now we will have app dot post. Okay, we again need to send a request, and I made a mistake here. Instead of a post request, we need to send a delete request. Okay, delete request, what will be the URL? We want to say like slash job slash delete job, and what, like which job should be deleted, what should we pass. So we are going to follow a similar pattern as we had here. Here we were getting the data by doing slash job slash colon id. We were getting the data. Now for deleting, we will just similarly pass that id. We'll pass an id and we'll tell it that delete this particular job. Perfect. So let's have request and then response and then this, and we'll say const id. We can call it id to delete. That is basically equal to parse int request dot. Now what will this have? Well, it will have similar to what previously had. That is params dot id. Okay. Now what's the next step? Now the next step is we need to find the job whose index matches, or whose id basically matches to this particular id. And we can do it in this way, like multiple ways, but one of the ways that I used while I was preparing for this was, let's call it const index equals to job data dot find index, like just to show you another method. Okay, there is a method called as find index. Okay, now in find index we will give it a temporary variable of my job, and we'll tell it like my job dot id. Check if it is equal to id to delete. Okay, if this is there, then we need to delete it. Okay, remove it from the array. But if it is not there, so now an idea for, like, not an idea, but a good way to write programs is first check for all the error conditions. Okay, first check, like write down all the errors, like if this error, then like return or send this message. If this error, then do this. If this error, then do this. And then finally you should say that okay, if none of the errors happen, then send this successful response. Okay, so yeah, just remember that always try to add all the errors first, like all the possible errors that you can think of, and try to add code in a way where you are first checking the errors, solving the errors. Okay, like if let's say an id is not found, then what should we do? Let's say a job title is not found, what should be done? So basically address all those errors, and then if none of the errors happen, then send a successful response. That I think is a good way to write code, and that is what we are going to do here. So in find index, if it finds the index of what you have told it to find, then it will return that index. But if it does not find it, it will return index of -1. So if index equals to -1, then we will say s.status 404. Like, index of -1 basically means it was not able to find it in the array. Okay. And we'll send job with, let's add it this way, job with dollar and id to delete not found, and we'll do just a return. Okay, let's first try and test this. Like, let's see what happens. So we are going to basically copy this. Let's go to hopscotch, and after job, let's say we add 8. Now we know that this id does not exist, and instead of a post request, this is a delete request, and there's no need for the body. So now if we send job with 8 not found, oops, job with id 8. Perfect. So now we know that, oops, I was sharing the wrong screen. Now I'm sharing the right screen. So what have I done? So instead of a post request, we changed it to a delete request. In the URL, I added slash delete job slash number, and I removed this body. You can change this to none. And if you try to send a request, it will say job with id 8 not found. You try to send 89, job with id 89 not found. What if you try to send it 1? Interesting. Curious what's going to happen. Uh, it's taking its own sweet time because it has found it, but our code is not handling that properly yet. So let's come back to our code. Okay, and let's write the code for handling if the id is found. Okay, if the id is found, then what you should do, let's write code for that. So after this if condition, let's write we need to remove that particular job from our array. So you can do something like job data dot splice. Okay, and we can say remove the index comma 1. Now what is this splice method? Would anyone like to take a try? Remember, mdn docs, way to go. Okay, that's the perfect place to go and check. So I'll give you a hint. It adds, or like and removes, like not and, like, you can tell it to add something or you can tell it to remove something. Okay, yep. You can tell it to remove the object with the index specified. Yep, that's the first part. What is the second part? So you're correct about the part of remove the index. Okay. What is this one? Removes that part, push it upwards. Hmm. Does it do that? So in the index, uh, So job data dot splice index, it tells it, okay, remove whatever, uh, like remove the element at this position. Okay. And with one, it basically tells that how many to delete. Okay, so this is more like a start. Okay, it like if let's say the index is 2, then it will start deleting from position 2. Okay, that's how it goes. It starts from that particular position. And how many should it delete? It should not delete everything. It should delete only one thing from the array. So the index, it basically tells, like, let's say here, if the index is returned as 0, then it will start deleting from the 0th position, then it will delete from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, like it will go on deleting till the array empties out. We don't want that. We only want to delete it one job at a time. So that's why the comma 1, it basically specifies how many to delete. Like from that particular position, start from there and delete just one. If you say like delete 2, it will delete like position 0 and position 1, and then it will stop. Okay, like if the index is 0, then it will, and if you like index comma 2, if the index is 0, it will delete from position 0, it will delete from position 1, and then it will stop. It has deleted two items. We only wanted to delete one item, that's why index comma 1. Okay. I that this is why I like this stream. So it's like everyone's so enthusiastic. Can we do this? Can we do that? And yep, it's good. Can I go back to hopscotch? I will go in like just a moment. Just the final part of the code, which is now that we have deleted the data. Okay, we have deleted the data from the array. We also need to delete it from uh, like the jobs.json file. So the idea is still the same. Okay. uh, why do I say it's still the same? It's basically like fs.write file, and this, like basically you can actually copy this whole thing. Okay, you can copy this whole thing here, like not the whole, whatever I have highlighted. So from fs.write file, because that's what you're basically going to do. So we can copy this thing and we can paste it right here. Now once it has been deleted, uh, deleted data successfully. Okay, this is what I changed. So what have we copied? We basically copied whatever we had written here for writing to the file. Okay, that's what we have copied in. We have said that, okay, write to the file jobs.json, stringify the whole data. So I think there was a question, are we rewriting everything? Yes, we are. Okay, rewrite the whole data, and if there is an error, send this error. But if there's no error in writing to the file, say deleted data successfully, and that should be it. Now let's go back to hopscotch. Should be visible pretty soon. And let's say if I do /7, it should not be found. Job with id 7 not found, definitely. But if I do a 1, this should be found and deleted data successfully. Okay, so we are doing /job/delete job slash whatever id that we wanted to give. We are not passing in anybody, nothing. Now Mickey, is this good? Like, can I switch over? Yes, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's switch over to the code part, and let's go to what did we delete? We deleted the one with like id1. Yeah, we deleted id1. Let's go to jobs.json. There is id0, and there's id 2 and 3 and 4. There's no id 1. We can just format it using JSON formatter, the best JSON formatter, and then you'll find that id 1 does not exist anymore. Perfect. Yep. Woohoo. I like how you're so excited. Awesome. And that is kind of it. Okay? Like seriously, that is it. That's all about sending requests, like APIs, how to build APIs. It after all this, it all depends on business logic. Okay? With making an API, it's very few lines of code that is require express, require course. Okay, decide a port, then const app, then use course, use express JSON, use URL encoded, and then finally listen to a port. And then it's all about dot get, dot post, dot delete, dot put, dot patch, and all those things, and slash, like slash whatever URL that you are telling it, and that's how you create an API. After that, everything inside that is business logic. Okay, that's what we call as business logic. So this is the business logic of how we want to delete. Like there's so many ways to delete. We could have actually like checked in this way also, if there is a job where the id matches or whatever, like so many ways we could have complicated like so much out of it. We tried to just learn a lot of things, and I've added all those things here. Now before we move on to the code refactor, any questions, anyone? Okay, I'm going to take this silence as golden, and it seems like everyone understood everything, which is great for me. Okay, now let's talk about the refactor. For a moment, forget about the zindex.js file. Okay, let's just think that it does not exist. And you have index.js, you have jobs.json. Thank you so much. Okay, let's do a quick refactor meanwhile. Uh, and that is uh, yeah, forget about the zindex.js file. Suppose you had only these two files, index.js, jobs.json. What have we done? So we have like made this index.js a very monstrous file. Okay, it's like if anyone watched Ben 10, this is humongous right now. Okay, and once you start adding more and more data, like instead of just jobs.json, what if you have users.json, you had address.json, like more and more and more, then this file is going to become the ultimate humongous soar file. Okay, it's like just going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and we don't want that. The whole idea of code is make it succinct. Like I love this word, succinct. Okay, so can we reduce the complexity, or can we try to do this separation of concerns here? Yes, we can. Okay, so I'm going to quickly copy paste. If it's okay if you are not able to completely follow it, that is fine. And why am I saying that? Because initially once you start developing, you will not face this error. And once you reach to a stage where you are very comfortable with developing APIs, you will automatically learn, okay, by looking at someone else's code. Oh, this is what it is doing, this is how I can basically make it smaller. Okay, so we are going to create job data router.js file. Okay, what are we going to do in this file? Just look at this part, this slash job. Okay, this slash job, it was repeated basically in all our URLs. Okay, it was repeated in all our URLs. So in our first part of refactor, we are trying to, yeah, just reduce the repetition. So what we'll do is we'll take the express, we'll paste it here. Then we'll take this file reading file, and yeah, we'll take all those lines, we'll paste them here. And once I paste it, I think I can remove this. I mean, I can remove this part. I cannot remove the express part, of course. I will need all this. Now, from this app.get, I am going to basically, yeah, cut all of this and go here and paste it here. Okay, go to job data. So what have I done? I've added express, I've added all the other, oops, all the other lines, that is fs json data reading and job data, which is parsing, which is fine. We have express left here, we have course left here, we have port left here. Okay, these are the few things that are left here. We have, yeah, all these options, which is still fine. And we have app.listen. Now we are going to go back to job data router, and we'll go all the way to the bottom, and we are going to basically add a line which is called as uh, module.exports. Okay, module.exports. And what are we going to export? Now, we could export anything that we want. For the sake of clarity and for the sake of less confusion, I'm going to do one more change. What am I going to change? So in Express, since you saw like there was multiple middlewares, there's one more kind of middleware which is called as Express router. So we will create a job router, and that is equal to express dot router. Okay, and here instead of app.get, we will do job router.get. Okay, app.post will become job router.post. App.post, job router.post. This will become job router.delete. This will become job router.get, and this and this. And that is what we are going to export. We are going to export job router. Now, what this does, so this express.router, it basically allows you to take your or divide your code into different files so that you don't have everything at one place. It basically creates a route inside route. I mean, uh, I'm not able to find the best way to explain it right now, but just think of it. It creates a routing functionality in the middle. Okay, and when you do this module.exports, you are basically telling it, okay, take this whole data and take it somewhere. Now, what else needs to change? Number one, this repetition that I told you, we can get away from it. So we can remove this slash job from everywhere, and we'll remove this last one also. So there's slash id, and there will be slash delete, there will be slash add new, there will be slash job query params, there will be slash job query params. This is one with the get, there is one with the post. Okay, now let's go to index.js, and here we are going to import the job router. So we will say const uh, job router equals to require. Since we are importing a file, we'll do a dot slash job data router dot js. We don't need the js actually, so this is fine. So job router, that is require job data router, and here we will say app dot use, we'll use it as a middleware. We'll give it a new base URL. The new base URL would be slash job, and we'll tell it use the job router. So what changes? Well, actually nothing changes on hopscotch. Our endpoints are still going to have the slash job and slash something. Okay, so our endpoints will still have the slash job slash delete job. So like if I do a send here, it says id1 not found. If I do a slash job slash delete job slash 2, data deleted successfully, and basically everything works. But now instead of repeating slash job everywhere, we are we have reduced the amount of code in index.js, which is the entry point. Okay, and we have taken out the data into a different file. Now if you have a users.json file, what you can do is you can create users data router.js, add all the functionality of users, all the routes for the users in users data router, and then import the router here, and you can say app.use, and that's also it. Okay, so that was a very quick refactor. We just took away a bunch of code from index.js. So one router for one kind of file. That's my idea. Okay, so for one kind of working, so like, okay, if this is related to jobs, this should, all the routing should be in one file. If it is related to users, all the routing for users, like adding a user, updating a user, deleting a user, all should be in one separate file of just users. Okay, all the routes. So yep, that is it from me. Any questions, anyone? Let me just stop sharing and some background music while I am waiting for any questions from anyone. None? That is good. Seems like I was good enough. Thank you so much, everyone. Where can we find your source code? What was in your Z-index file? Oh, Z-index file was basically our uh, first session's basic code. Okay, the code from our first session, the bare minimum of what is Express and how to what is course, what is code. Like that's what we did in the first session, and that's what I added in Z-index. I will quickly share screen to show like bare minimum just to understand. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shamari. Thank you so much, Samrid. And source code. So I hope you are a part of MLH Discord. If not, this is the perfect time to be. So join the MLH Discord. You will find GHW announcements channel. I have posted announcement for today's session there, and I will reply to that, and I will share my GitHub repo. That's where you can find like the code. Thank you so much. That's such a great encouragement. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Mickey. I'm quickly going to highlight this because I'm loving it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you and thank you. So, if there are no more questions, I think this is the perfect time to end the stream. I hope we will all see each other for the next GHW where I am going to stream again. I'll try to stream again definitely with something new, something exciting. Uh, Maybe we'll end up learning. And if you already know it, as you all know, my motto is stay back, help others. Yeah, build the community. Thank you so much. See you all. Bye bye.